Okay, you can go in for a close-up. Hi, everybody. You might hear some people doing some yard work in the background because we're on my boulevard today. And I know a lot of you have a lot of questions about different things. Some of you, thank you for remembering. Some of you have questions of me when I was on Wisconsin Public Radio as their master gardener. And you want me to talk about a lot of different subjects. We're getting a lot of people watching. Thank you for watching. Wherever you see this from, please like and subscribe, watch, give it to your friends. I want to say hi to all the contributors. Wausau Computer Services LLC, Dollar Tree USA, that's Dollar Tree right here in northern Wisconsin. We're in north central Wisconsin. And US Cellular right here in north central Wisconsin as well. We've got some other groups that are joining too. I'm not going to say them just yet. But it's a little bit windy out here. It's a nice place to sit. I'm Master Gardener Bernie DeLinay, also a professional gardener. I know a lot of you, when you remember me on Wisconsin Public Radio, want me to talk about a lot of different subjects. We're going to try to get to them all. You want Bobby Buds for Life to try to talk about a lot of different subjects too. And one of the things that people want me to talk more about is good old coffee grinds. When there's a lot of business going on around here, but that's okay. We'll excuse all of them. It doesn't matter. We're going to do this show anyway. And one of the things that people want me to talk about are not coffee grounds, but after they're used and ground up, they're called coffee grinds. So that's why I say coffee grinds. One of the things you also want me to talk about, you want me to talk a lot more about good old aloe vera. There's a lot of people who want to know how to make the aloe vera tea. That'll be shown more on Bobby Buds for Life. Plus, a lot of people want me to say what's in the coffee grinds. It's nothing more than good old tannic acid, and it's good as an antioxidant and anti-inflammation. That's why a lot of people drink it in the morning, because it makes them kind of wake up. It's anti-inflammation, and that's one of the things that I could talk about. That you consume and get from the things that you eat. Another thing is people want to know why there's not a whole lot of potassium, magnesium in the ground, and it's supposed to be in the vegetables that we eat, like the green bell pepper, sweet corn, tomatoes, carrots, whatever. A lot of people want to know more about that too. Well, one of the things that I also wanted to bring up was the Spring Hill Nurseries. This is a catalog from Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and it's a hardiness. And can you zoom on that, Mr. Cameraman? Please go ahead for a shot of that. This is a catalog that was sent to me by these fine folks in Lawrenceville, Indiana. It's called Spring Hill Nurseries, and it goes down to hardiness zone 4, which is what I am. And the name of their catalog is Spring Hill Nurseries, P.O. Box 4173, Lawrenceburg, Indiana 47025. Spring Hill Nurseries, P.O. Box 4173, Lawrenceburg, Indiana 47025. Okay, so one of the things that I really like about this are the clematis that I found in here. I'm going to see if I can show you a real quick picture of this. As a matter of fact, these are not clematis, but these are things that, even though this is Indiana, and can you zone in on this too? Zoom in on it if you can, Mr. Cameraman. The hardiness factors that we have here, they go down to zone 4, and that's what we are. And if you want to try to find things like zone 5 in a zone 4, it's going to be in a warmer spot, kind of probably around your house, so it makes it through to the winter time. One of the things that I also want to point out is to the person who sent me a question, I believe it was on Facebook. They wanted to know, how do you get the fig trees to survive in zone 4? You got to find out where zone 5 is on your land, and there's warm spots that are called micro mini climate zones. Okay, that means they're warmer than that. You got to also bend them over. Fig trees are pliable. Bend them over and put a whole lot of mulch over the top of them to help them make it through the winter time. I'm not going to show that today. One of the things that, besides the catalog that Spring Hill sent me, which is really a nice one, these are phlox. One of my favorites though is the clematis. That is a vining flower, and believe it or not, certain colors really do attract hummingbirds. That's one of the favorite reasons why I love clematis. But they too have to be in a warmer zone. They got to be in a spot where it's more zone 5 than 4. You can find that, and if you live in zone 5, you can find 6 and possibly 7. It's one of those things that that you just have to figure out where they are. It's one of those places in your yard. Again, this is Spring Hill Nurseries from Lawrenceburg, Indiana. I'm going to put that down right now. If you want to order that for yourself, you can go online and find them. They have a great catalog. I love these people. They're really nice. They're nice to deal with, and they'll answer all your questions. I found them one day. I was just looking through a bunch of stuff, and it's kind of neat. All right, so that's one of the garden catalogs that I get. I get a bunch of others too. There's from other places, but I'm not going to talk about them today. One of the other things I want to talk about is now you saw a shot of a plant. First of all, it's called well, they call them Wisconsin prairie flowers. We don't have really too many prairies in Wisconsin, not like say North Dakota does. But we have some prairie flowers, and they're hardy enough. It was a little purple flower on a kind of a nicer looking stem. The leaves were nice and everything. That's called Verbaine. Some people pronounce it Verbaine. Well, it grows wild. It'll grow around the marshy areas. If you plant it in your yard, what's going to happen is it's going to be evasive, and it's going to get all over the place. So you don't really want to do that. I've got a pair of goggles on. Whenever you do any heavy-duty hard work outside, you should always have a pair of goggles. I have ones with the extenders like this on there, and you can put them on there very, very easily. You can put a hole in the end of these and put it's a catch-all that goes on your glasses. It goes around your neck. It's very easy to get on. I've got several pair like that. If you do a bunch of yard work and you get hit in the eye just one time, that's a real good reminder for you to make sure you're always wearing your eyeglasses. And you hear some yard work being done in the background, that's okay. It's okay for that. People around here do yard work. They do yard work all the time. And remember, folks, I said at one point that you don't have to have your yard looking immaculate every single day. It's just not going to be possible. Sometimes what's going to happen is you're going to do yard work and it's going to look immaculate for 4 or 5 days maybe, and then it's going to rain and it's going to grow again. Or maybe you aren't able to do that anymore. Maybe you can't bend down. Maybe you can't do the physical work. Or maybe you got a lot of grocery shopping to do. Who knows? And speaking of groceries, the prices are getting ridiculous. All right, so when you do some yard work, especially with head shears like this, and now I'm not going to cut the crab apple tree. We're going to show another shot of that in a second here. I'm going to make sure that I talked to you for a little bit. The first flower that we showed was called Verbaine. It's a wild flower. It grows a lot around here. It grows in zones 5. It even goes down to zone 3. Some people call it Verbaine. It doesn't matter. That's the Latin technical term. You can spell it however you want. Verbaine, or you can spell it Verbainea. Sometimes the Latin spellings do have the technical spellings on there. It doesn't really matter. But it's a nice little flower. It'll get into other parts of your land, especially when you don't want them to. And then the next thing we showed was this. Okay, let's get a shot of this. Just go up. Mr. Cameraman, just go up to the shot of just up in the sky to the shot of, this is called a bittersweet cherry tree. Okay, now we can go back down here, right back down to me. You're going to see a couple more shots of that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to stand next to this, okay? Follow me over here. This is called a bittersweet cherry tree. I planted this more than 30 years ago. Okay, but it's not really it's not much of a cherry tree. It's more like a crab apple. And one of the reasons is, Mr. Cameraman, if you can shoot right straight down at the trunk down there, get as much of that as you can. Okay, that's a good shot of that. Okay, back up to me. Okay, he does a good job, doesn't he, folks? Anyway, the birds love these. Okay, this does taste somewhat like a cherry. Okay, it's called a bittersweet cherry tree. It's not really a cherry tree, more of a crab apple, because the bottom root, and I'm talking about grafting now, horticultural grafting, is always going to be a cherry tree. That's the hardiest root that will go into the ground. I'm going to take this and chuck it back that way. All right, the birds come and do that. They spread them all around. These are more for birds. But however, you can if you want to. Okay, see these? Okay, you can if you want. You can make jams and jellies out of these. All right. So one of the things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get that bitter sweetness out of there. Well, and I'm not going to do. I don't make any jams or jellies, not anymore. I used to do a lot of that, but I don't do that anymore. It takes a lot of time and energy, and I'd rather spend it on teaching some gardening tricks. This is a grafted tree. Let's go back up here, Mr. Cameraman. See where it is? See up here? Okay, you can see this tree is pretty darn big. It's old. It's over 30 years old. When I planted it, it was only about maybe 8 to 10 inches tall. Okay, now back we're playing grab the scene with the cameraman today. All right, so this is a nice big bittersweet cherry tree. As I said, it's more of a crabapple cherry than it is, because it's got more of the taste of the crabs in it, and it is sweet. You can make, like I said, you can make a juice out of it. You got to sweeten it up a little bit. I'm going to throw these back here for the birds. Okay, there's a lot of fruit on here, as you have already seen. Okay, let's go back over here, Mr. Cameraman. He does a great job. He's been my cameraman for over 30 years. And we do a lot of work for Wausau Public Access TV, which this is seen on by anybody who wants to go to my channel. You can also see it if you are a resident of north central Wisconsin, but you have to have the cable package and that Spectrum up here, okay? So at any rate, one of the things that you want to make sure that you get, if you buy say a plum tree or a peach tree, and someone was asking about peach trees, not only my cameraman, but some other people were asking about the hardiness of peach trees. The original graft that has to go into the ground is a crabapple tree. And this particular brand, now they've come out with better grafts since I bought this tree, and what they have done is they've gotten better at the taste of the cherry and how the fruit actually performs. It doesn't taste nor look like much of a crabapple anymore. It's actually more of a cherry, 90% cherry and a little bit of crab. So they've been able to change that. And I'm going to wait until this truck passes. They all wave as they go by. Believe it or not, folks, this is a busy neighborhood, and yes, this is my boulevard, this is my personal property, but there's a lot of people who go by here during the day, even in the winter time, simply because it's a busy place, okay? And what you're looking at is my woods behind me that we have spent a lifetime grooming, and especially this boulevard. Now when we go back, we're going to take a picture along the boulevard as we roll along in the tractor and shut it off at the end of the forest, okay? So what's going to happen is you're only going to see about maybe 5 seconds of it, but you're going to see some of the grooming that has taken a lifetime for me to do. I want to get back to this. I'm not going to show, I don't have my grafting kit with me today, but there is a way of grafting different fruit onto a tree just like this one. Let's get one more shot, Mr. Cameraman, one more shot of the crab, of the cherry crab tree or bittersweet cherry tree. It's really a cherry crab tree. That's what it really is. It's more for the birds, but like I said, okay, back to me, Mr. Cameraman. Back over to me. You can make jams and jellies. You can make a wine out of it. My father used to make a wine out of this. He has long since passed away. Rest in peace, my dear father. And even some of my relatives who are long since passed away used to make wines out of that. It makes a pretty good wine. However, it's not actually cherries. And what happens is when they put the graft into the ground, the top part is going to be the other fruit part. Now, if you find a peach tree that's hardy enough, or a plum tree, or say a golden delicious apple, they've all been grafted pretty much onto crab apple trees. That's the way that goes. And one of the things that you can do is plant a bunch of those and hope that 90% is going to be the real fruit that you want, like the peach, the cherry, the nectarine, the plum, transparent apple, a real sweet, delicious Wolf River apple, something like that, that can withstand these cold winters, because it does get very cold up here. And it's just part of the landscape. It gets cold up here. It's zone 4. It's you can, like I said before, you can find a micro mini climate zone that is colder and hotter. And how you look for that, believe it or not, and I'm not getting to any of this other stuff yet. Um, One of the things that you look for is what is in your yard, okay? Or if you have a garden that's on a balcony, and you have plants there, you can always pull those plants in when it gets really cold in the spring and the fall, and then put them back out during the day. You got to remember to either cover them up or pull them in. That's on a balcony. That's on a patio. But if it's your yard, if you're a homeowner or you rent a house and you have a bit of a yard, you have to look for, where does the snow melt first? That's a warmer mini climate zone. Where does the snow melt last? That's going to be a colder mini climate zone. Is it hotter on the east side of your house or your building? Or is it hotter on the north side? On the north side, it's going to be cooler. On the east side, it gets the sun in the morning, okay? And if you live in some other place in the world where the sun doesn't rise in the east and set in the west, it's reversed, then you have to reverse that knowledge too, okay? So one of the things that you can look for is where is your shade? Is it shade from a great big huge pine tree, big cedar, big oak tree, something like that, or is it something that's even bigger, like a great big huge Norway maple, a sweet maple, something like that. Okay, I'm going to move on just a little bit here. Now, a lot of you asked before, did I ever get that little pump sprayer fixed? Yes, I did. I had to use Gorilla Glue. I don't have it with me, but here's an example of just a regular sprayer. It says, I have it clearly marked, it's insecticide, and this is the one that I bought and I put together. I have to get some auto rings for this. Okay, I'm going to pump this up a little bit. It's got insecticide in it. And folks, if you have more than one sprayer, you always want to make sure it's marked. If you don't know what's in here, this clearly says insecticide. That's the only use for this. You can see this. I'm going to lift it up a little bit. It says insecticide. You're not really supposed to lift these sprayers up like that because they get heavy when they're full. It doesn't have all the water in it, but it is insecticide. And when you spray, okay, I'm going to pump this up. See, now it's firm, okay? When you spray, make sure the wind's blowing in the opposite direction. Okay, that's the stream, and you can change that and put it on spray. Do not let it spray back in your face. The wind's blowing this way, so I'm going to spray like this. There we go. Okay? You don't want to spray on a windy day. You don't want it blowing in your face. Okay, that's just an example. We have a lot of trouble with Japanese beetles and emerald ash borers here, so I spray that for this. If it's a big tree like this, now this one that's dead right here, somebody came along and broke that. They probably was somebody walked along that's not supposed to be here, I just grabbed the thing and broke the thing. So I will cut that off in a second. Don't let this spray back in your face. If the wind's blowing like this, if it's blowing that way, spray this way away from you, okay? That's just for demonstration purposes. I actually have sprayed that down before. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this in place, push it all the way down, lock it in place like that until it clicks. And then I'm going to put this right on here, like that, and set it aside. Okay, so this is called a loop neck lopping shears, okay? And all I'm going to do is this was broken off. I don't know who did it or how anybody did it. I'm just going to cut it like that. Put it all the way down. I'm going to put that here. I'm going to haul it to the yard waste place. All right, so I don't know how many minutes we got right now, but not only do I have my goggles when I work, I wear my gloves all the time, constantly. I'm always wearing my gloves. These are good, heavy-duty, thick garden gloves, okay? And they're dirty. They're well used. They're dirty, but they have nothing's penetrated. No thorns, no rose thorns, no Jerusalem cherry thorns from the house plants. Yeah, they get dirty. I pick up logs all the time. And one of the nice things about them is that I can pick up just about anything, even if I touch poison ivy or poison oak. You know, that's not gonna do anything to me. If I touch it on the outside, I usually wash them off. I don't put them in the washer because they get a little bit too. Sometimes they shrink. They're leather, and so I just wash them off like that. I put them on, and this is how you can do this. And I've done that a couple times already. I just put the soap in here, wash them off like I'm washing my hands. That's a good way to do that. If you put them in the machines, they might shrink. They might get torn apart. So I spent good money for it, so I don't want to do that. Okay, so the next, all right, we have trouble. We have trouble with moles, voles, and gophers around here. This is bait. If you see a bunch of moles going in underneath your property or wherever, you know, this is kills moles. Pocket gophers kills moles. Vole with a V as in Victor, mole with an M as in Mike, and gophers as in G as in gopher. Anyway, this is, you want to keep this away from your kids and your pets. As a matter of fact, dogs and cats, if you put it anywhere on the ground, they will lick it up. It'll make them sick. And if they're small enough, animals could kill them. So I want to be really careful with this stuff too. I don't use this stuff very often, but when there's something that's getting into, say, one of my gardens, I will use it. And a lot of people will say, oh, let's get a have-a-heart trap. That's have-a-heart where it just traps the animal and then you dump it off in somebody's woods. Well, guess what? People tend to dump them in my woods. I don't like that. So guess what? I'm not going to stand for that. These are my woods. I have to pay the property taxes. I'm the one who has to clean up the mess. So I'm not going to use have-a-heart. I'm going to use this. Whether that bothers you or not, we can go over a little bit. That's fine. We can make it a little bit longer. That's okay. And, you know, it can just get shortened up if somebody else doesn't like it. For Wausau Public Access TV, folks, we're supposed to stay to 30 minutes, but we might go a little bit over. That's okay. So, at any rate, if you buy, let's get one more shot of this, Mr. Cameraman. If you buy a bittersweet cherry tree or some fruit that has been grafted, make sure the stalk below is on a crabapple tree. Ask, and make sure the stalk above is actually what it's supposed to be, a cherry tree. Like I said, this is more of a crab than it actually is a cherry, even though they look like cherries. And they do taste pretty good. They're not bad. You can make fruit juice out of them. You can make wines. You can make marmalades, marmalade mixed with oranges, in other words. Make jams and jellies. You can make all kinds of fruit spreads and stuff. Can you eat them in a pie? No, that's a little too much work. There's seeds in the middle, and they're kind of small. But I leave them for the deer. I leave them for the bear. I leave them for the gophers that pick them up off the ground, even the wolves and the moles. And I leave them also for any other animal like the birds that come around. And around here, we've got just a ton of different birds that come here every single year. They come in the summertime. And now, folks, you know what? We're going to pause the camera. And